Hey guys, welcome back. Let's talk for a little bit. As you guys see, there's very little news coming out. There was only two articles that came out yesterday. Remember earlier in the week I did the cricket chirping video for you guys? That's just saying there's nothing out there right now. There's very little to share. That's because Iraq has nothing left to do. They're showing you that. In fact, just a few days ago, I actually did another video for you showing you how the articles have actually changed course. The articles went from just talking about general things Iraq's working on, from like budgets and other stuff, passing and approving laws. They've kind of transitioned from just working on just basic stuff within their country now to going back to now talking about the reforms and international steps like post rate change steps and tasks. Okay, so let's talk about the reforms for a second. It's important to revisit those. Remember, Iraq told us they wanted to implement those reforms in around mid-January. Okay, they said, well, implement the reforms mid-January. Why does the rate have anything to do with those reforms? Well, Iraq can only make payments on the reforms. Remember, they have multiple companies doing work for them, and then they borrowed money to fund the cost of the reforms from different countries. Okay, so they can only make payments on this, guys, using dinar. Well, you can do your own research on this level, but what you might want to take the time to look at is how long have the reforms been outstanding for? Many, many years, guys, long time. The reason why is because Iraq's currency, in order for them to be able to make payments on these to parties that funded it for them, is they can only make payments in dinar. They can't use the US dollar like OPEC dollar. They can't use that. Okay. Article 8 of the IMF requires them to use their native currency, the Iraq dinar. That's why the reforms have been outstanding for so long. That's why you saw I showed you an article just from a few days ago talking about displaced people. Those people have been displaced out in the desert in tents for 3 years. That's one example showing you those reforms have been pending and outstanding for a period of 3 years. Okay, so 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 just wanted to give you a general understanding of why the reforms have been outstanding for so long. Again, can I get my glasses? They've been waiting for the reforms have been waiting for Iraq's currency to become internationally recognized. Okay, so that's why the reforms have been outstanding for so long. Now, let's get into these reforms a second. I want you guys to look at something from a unique angle. Okay. So if they've told us that the reforms they're tentatively going to launch them or kick them off and implement them around mid-January, why? Why mid-January, guys? Well, I want you to think about something here. Um, it's most likely because of the holidays. Okay. So you have a lot of world leaders and top bankers around the world. They typically take holiday periods, okay, from around 12/15 to 1/15, from like December 15th to January 15th. What's when some top officials around the world, ranging from banking to just world officials, go on holidays again from around 12/15 to 1/15. Okay, so then you have Thanksgiving in there. Okay, well, guys, in a way, this kind of applies to the timing of the rate change too. Not just the reforms. And again, guys, this entire video is my opinion, shall not be used for financial advice. Okay. All right. So again, this is just my opinion and shall not be used for financial advice. What you guys have to think, you guys have to factor this type of information in with the timing of the rate change, not just the timing of the reforms. They really need to change the rate when it helps when it's best for the rate change too. Okay, and I'm not going to bring a date into this, but but I am going to just give you something to think about. That it's if they're waiting till mid-January to launch those reforms, they then they would most likely, what would be ideal, and again, this is just an opinion, it would be ideal or best for them to kind of change the rate before those holidays start. That way they don't have to fumble through the holidays, okay, to have the rate change ready mid-January. It'll just be ready for mid-January once they come out of the holidays. Okay. So I was just giving you guys another angle of something to think about, that it would be, ideal for them that way they have the rate change and everything ready to go as we enter into the holidays, and they're ready for mid-January for the launch and implementation of those reforms with the rate, because the reforms require that rate. That's why they've waited and have been outstanding for so many years. Okay. Now looking at it from a factual level, Iraq's completed the borrowing law. I showed you guys an article showing you, and it's a truthful article, that once they complete a law, okay, whether if the president signs off on it or not, it becomes automatically ratified 15 days after it's approved by Parliament anyway. Okay, so you saw that. So basically, from a week ago Thursday, when Iraq approved the borrowing law, within 15 days it's automatically ratified, whether if the president signs off on it or not. But now so at this point, guys, Iraq's ready to change the rate at any time. There's nothing holding Iraq back from changing the rate. They are ready to do it. And as you saw, you've seen a pattern as of yesterday, or as of 2 days ago, Thursday, which was after the 7 days. Okay, you saw them transition their articles again. Their articles transition talking back about post rate change steps, international steps. Their articles changed, guys, after 7 days, which was Thursday. After they and the U.S. went one step further with it too. The U.S. came out talking about how they're going to do a troop reduction between Iraq and Afghanistan down to non-combat troops now. They'll do a troop reduction between Iraq and Afghanistan, and within Iraq they're going to reduce the troops from 3,000 to 2,500 non-combat troops, guys. And they made that announcement Wednesday. Think about that carefully, guys. That's the U.S. coming out and showing you and telling you that Iraq has now achieved stability and independence, and they can stand on their own 2 feet and manage their own affairs, that they're sovereign. Okay, so the U.S. is showing you that Iraq has achieved independence and stability. Okay, and Iraq is coming out revealing to you that they have independence and stability. Okay, so there's a lot of key little indicators coming out that Iraq is ready for this rate change, guys. That's what I'm trying to show you here, but we're not going to give a date and all this. And notice how this pattern or shift change pretty much occurred on Thursday, which would have been roughly 7 days. Because I told you, remember I used the election law as an example, how the president did sign the election law exactly 7 days after its approval. They approved it on a Thursday. He signed it the following Thursday. It's the same with the borrowing law. They approved it a week ago Thursday, and then this Thursday of this week. That's when you saw the shift and change in these articles, transitioning to showing post rate change discussions, okay, within the news, and international status and independence and everything. That's okay. So a lot of good information is coming out now. Um, there's there's some of the news coming out, guys, though, has BS written all over it. So here's an article from yesterday, guys, talking about the first batch of U.S. forces leaving Iraq. Okay, it just simply says official spokesman of the Iraqi Joint Operations Command, Major General, announced Friday the withdrawal of the first batch of U.S. forces according to the agreement with Washington. U.S. forces in Iraq are not combat, adding we have only those who meet support with airstrikes to target U.S. remnants, as well as logistical advisory services. Today, the U.S. forces began to withdraw. The number is 500. So they're withdrawing 500 who were announced according to the agreement between Baghdad and Washington recently. So there you guys go. We don't need to read. And then, well, the new acting U.S. Secretary of Defense, Chris Miller, expressed his intention to accelerate the withdrawal of U.S. forces from Afghanistan and the Middle East, saying, the time has come to return to the homeland. All wars must end, in his first message to the U.S. Armed Forces. Many are tired of war, and I am one of them, Miller wrote in a message on the Defense Department's website. The crucial stage is to which we transform our efforts from a leadership role to a supportive one. Ending wars requires concessions and partnership. We faced the challenge and did everything we could. Now it is time to return home. So there you guys go. More confirmation that Iraq has achieved major, tremendous stability, guys, and they are ready to go and become international. And that shift and change occurred within those articles just this past Thursday, which was 7 days after the borrowing law was approved by Parliament. Remember, I told you that was the last step. So they're showing you from many different angles, guys, They are now ready to change the rate at any time. Okay. The Kurdistan government directs its employees to open accounts in banks to receive their salaries. We'll look at this article, guys, but to me, this article has BS written all over it. Okay, on Thursday, the Ministry of Finance and Economy of the Kurdistan Region government called on all departments to open a bank account for employees in order to receive their monthly salaries through it. According to a document addressed to the ministries and departments not associated with the ministries, the ministry said, based on the reform law and within the framework of reorganizing the bank field in the region, converting banking services to the electronic reform for all employees, for the purpose of opening a bank account for employees who do not have any bank account, all departments and institutions must direct official letters to private banks for the purpose of opening a bank account for the purpose of receiving salaries on a monthly basis. My question, guys, is how prior to this, how did they receive their salaries before? They would have had to have had a bank account, even if they got a paper check. Even with a paper check, they would have had to have gone to either a bank or a check cashing location. Okay, but even prior to this, guys, they had to have a bank account to receive salaries. Okay, so to me, guys, this article is BS. Basically, what they're telling you here is that they've received their salaries. Remember, they were coming out saying that once the borrowing law was approved, Kurdistan was saying they got screwed with the borrowing law. Then Kurdistan said we're going to have to send a delegation, and Kurdistan was saying they didn't receive their salaries. Now they're telling you through this week that they've received their salaries, okay, or that they're attempting to pay their salaries with weird stipulations like banking. But guys, I'm sorry, they would have had to have had a bank account prior to this to receive their salaries. It was either direct deposit or um, or paper checks. Okay, so this to me, this article, guys, just has lies and BS written all over it, saying that they now need to have a bank account for employees in order to receive their monthly salaries. Okay, they would have had to have had one before. Okay, I'm sorry, but governments don't pay cash. They don't pay loose cash for salaries. They don't. It's either a paper check or direct deposit. It's a standard. Okay, so this letter, guys, just has BS written all over it. But they're basically what they're showing you here through all this is all that stuff where the Kurds came out saying that they were going to have to send a delegation to Iraq because they haven't received money for salaries and that they hadn't paid the salaries, guys. It's all lies and BS. Okay. And I'm actually still sticking. And now here's one thing I want to show you. With this article here, it doesn't outright tell you that they've paid the salaries. It tells you they're trying or attempting to pay salaries. Then earlier in the week, it was probably on Wednesday, I think, they came out saying that there was a one article talking about paying salaries, but you had to read the article because they talked about paying salaries through MasterCard. But if you read the article, it actually said that they've only paid salaries for one department, which was for staff working within only the Ministry of the Interior, not the rest of the federal government throughout Baghdad or the rest of the government officials throughout Baghdad. Just Ministry of the Interior, that department only. Yeah, kind of unique, right? Um, so to me, that article even had some BS written all over it, and they didn't give a date as to when it was done. It just said, "Hey, we're trying to get the salaries paid using MasterCard only for Ministry of Interior." And guys, a lot of these articles just have too much BS written all over them, and they haven't even given a date as to when the salaries were paid. And this one doesn't even outright tell you they're paid. It just says in order for Kurdish government officials to receive their monthly salaries, they have to have a bank account. So this article is just it doesn't tell you that they have paid it. It tells you they're attempting to pay it. So my whole point is this: if they don't, they may not be paying salaries till next week, possibly after the rates change, like I've you know tried to give you an example of. Um, anyway, guys, there's very little news out there. There's very little to share. As you saw yesterday, only two news articles came out through the whole day. Okay, well, of two news articles of any real substance or credibility worth even looking at, that and really they weren't worth looking at. Um, Now that Iraq has completed the borrowing law, their news has transitioned to talking about post rate change items and and more of like international status. I know an article came out this morning talking about how Iraq's central bank governor or Iraq's the central bank government staff is going to be meeting with the Bank of International Settlements guys. That's just more international status right there. So as you're seeing, the news has transferred and shifted that direction, talking about post rate change stuff as well as international stuff. And then the right now Iraq's also coming out showing you guys they've got nothing left to do. That's why there's very little news coming out. Okay. And then what I wanted you guys to think about is I wanted you to think about holidays in this for a second. That why did they push the reforms out to the middle of January? Why not the beginning of January? Well, again, most top world officials and government officials take holiday periods from 12:15 to 1:15. Okay. Well, you have to look at that from the opposite angle, even regarding the rate change. So if they're waiting till around mid-January due to holidays to start those reforms, then that would put kind of the opposite effect on the rate change that they would almost need to change the rate guys before the holidays start. Wanted you to think about that, okay? Again, we're not giving a date. We're just giving different scenarios to think about. Anyway, there you guys go. Again, there's very little news coming out to share. Um, there's not a lot to analyze, and a lot of this news coming out has just BS written all over it, like this one I just shared with you, because they're saying that Kurdistan now need that the Kurdish government officials or employees, staff members need to have bank accounts to receive salaries. Guys, they would have had to have had bank accounts prior to this, just even receive their salaries before now. So to me, this article is just pure BS. Anyway, guys, go there. You go. Um, if anything happens, we'll definitely bring it your way, guys. Anyway, hey guys, God bless you guys and have a great day. Take care.